Alright, we'll go ahead and hop into this analysis for Clauriess. Gold 3, gold 2, I believe. Okay, so the main issue with this kickoff, which is an issue with a lot of people in gold, is they just use all their boost and stay on the ground. They don't front flip that often, which is something that they should absolutely do. And people should use 2 jumps way more often in kickoffs than they actually do. Okay, so what I mean by 2 jumps is, I mean a front flip or just 2 jumps upward. And so right here, I'm talking specifically about front flipping in your kickoff. So in this example, I start boosting, I front flip, and I finish using my boost going into the ball. This is something I would shy away from doing. I would not recommend that you do this when doing kickoffs like this. And the second example is more of what I would highly recommend you do. At Gold Elo, you can win games just off of doing a kickoff like this. So to notice what I do, I start boosting, I front flip, I stop my boost, and I land on the ground in front of the ball. So this gives me time to look at what side of the ball my opponent is going to, so I can flip to the opposite side. However, in that example, I landed a little too close to the ball. So here's my recommendation of a nearly perfect kickoff. As you noticed, it was a very powerful hit. I flipped to the opposite side the opponent went to. So you'll notice I start boosting the front flip and I land on the ground a little bit before I actually get to the ball. That gives me enough time to look at what side the opponent's going to, and so I can flip to the opposite side to win the kickoff. Now, one thing to pay attention to post kickoff, so after you actually do this kickoff, is look over here at this boost. Most people, and especially in 1v1s, going for side boost is the most common thing. And right here, you've got a perfect opportunity to go for the side boost, or at least some small boost on that side of the map, because you don't have any right here. And the other thing to look at is, where's the opponent? Do you have time to go for boost to get a quality shot? Now, these are things that right here you need to be thinking about. And another thing I'm going to be pointing out is how with this hit right here, you hit it with the side of your car rather than the front of your car, and you actually rushed this hit. So when you front flipped and hit the ball right here, you were early trying to score this, which is why it was fairly weak. It didn't have much power behind it. And so right here, you did manage to pick up one small boost. Right there, you just got 12, but one thing you should be doing right here is look at all these small boosts that are around that you can pick up. You can get yourself so much boost by turning off ball cam and looking where you're driving to pick up the small boost. And over time, you will do this enough to where it will just be secondhand nature, to where you'll be looking at the ball, observing the map, and you won't know where the small boost is in vicinity to your car. And the most common method is to come straight down the middle of the map to get the boosts, or come down the middle right here and go out towards the ball to get more small boosts. This is just something that you should be thinking about and trying to do. Okay, so right here with this hit, I think you had enough time to curve around so that you got more of a direct shot on the net, rather than hitting the ball towards the corner of the map right here. So because you hit the ball to the corner of the map, you kind of give the opponent time to recuperate and get back on defense because you hit it to the corner. So just right here, and you did beat him. I just think you had enough time to where you could have gotten around a little more and gotten a more direct shot on net. And so right here again, I feel like is an example of rushing, and you didn't get to the side of the ball as much as you really should have. You could have scored this if you would have went out to your left a little more. But this is a common thing that I noticed in analyzing your replay, is that there's a lot of you not getting around on the ball enough to get a direct shot on net, or just direct shots in general, because right there you jumped early. And even though, yes, you did hit it with the front of your car, it wasn't accurate because of your early jump. And so right here, this could have been very bad. Like when you get up to platinum, especially diamond or above, because you went up the wall and went out to the right here, this is a mistake. You should have just kept going on back. Yeah, you had the right idea to try to hit the ball, but the opponent just got the boost. So right here, the opponent could have very easily turned on this ball in the right way and just been able to dribble it right down the middle of the map and got themselves a very easy goal. And so what I mean by this is, instead of being positioned where he is right here, he could have been positioned back a little more, and he just would have had a free goal. But luckily that wasn't the case here. Now, this hit should have been a lot better. You had plenty of boost to get some power behind this hit, but you just jumped up and slightly hit it. You weren't fast to the ball, and this could have been a very free goal if you just would have got a little bit of power on it. And just use your boost. Use it to get some of that power. And so because your hit was so weak, watch the opponent here. He went right under you, and he was able to go and get the goal, or get the save, rather. And right here I wanted to point this out as a good job of you picking up small boosts. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but if it was intentional, then good job, keep it up. But this hit right here was the next problem. Again, you hit it with the side of your car rather than with the front of it, and you only jumped once. You didn't jump twice. Right here, your opponent veered off to the opposite side, and noticing that as it happens is very essential to making quick plays. And again, you only used one jump instead of two. Two jumps would have got you a nice hit, nice clear. But again, just one thing I noticed is you're just jumping once into the ball and hitting it with the side of your car rather than hitting it with the front, as I previously mentioned. So that's just one thing you really need to work on, because your shots really don't have much power on it, and hitting it with the front of your car is going to give you a lot of power. And so because you only used one jump, you kind of passed it to him, and this gave him a free goal, but for whatever reason he didn't score it. Now right here I can tell you're kind of late with your hits. You're kind of rushing, in my opinion. You're kind of being in panic mode right here, like, oh, he should score, but he didn't. So you're kind of in a panic mode. But this is going to be one of the hardest things, in my opinion, for you to learn. Don't panic in these situations. Right here, you just need to go back. Your opponent is not in a good position to score. If you would just sit back, you could have got a nice little clear, even though you didn't have much boost. And speaking of boost, so one thing you need to also think about, so right here you just went straight for the ball hit. Why not go for the boost, then the ball hit? And the other thing to take into consideration when thinking about that is looking around the map and seeing where your opponent is. But it's very common for people to go for the boost and the ball hit all in one maneuver, in one rotation. Now right here is a good example. You don't have boost, but on your retreat back to goal, you pick up 3 small boosts. You get yourself plenty of boost. And that is so vital for people at your elo to do, because a lot of people in your elo, and even people in plat and diamond, they just focus on the big boost that gives them 100 boost, and the fact that you are showing some focus on the small boosts is a really good thing. Now right here is a very good example of a lot more examples to come in this replay, but you're just sitting back playing passive and you're forfeiting ball control. And also right here, just notice when your opponent jumped versus when you jumped. You jumped way after your opponent jumped, but right here this was a good save. Luckily you were just quick enough to get there. Now this hit, in my opinion, is a difficult one to try to analyze, because I feel like I would have done the same thing in this situation, like just hitting against the wall and bouncing it out. But also you have plenty of boost and your opponent is going back for boost. I think you could have had plenty of time to just wait and be patient to get a good hit on the ball. And right here, when you came into goal, you're all the way in the back. This is something you never want to do, not in 1v1s, 2v2s, or even 3v3s in some instances. You need to be right here, up here at the goal line. Everything behind you, you don't need to be in, especially when your opponent has the ball way out there. There's no reason for you to be back in the goal. And this little clear right here, this could have been a lot better. You jumped really, really early. And this is another example of how I think you need to find more of a balance between aggressiveness and passiveness in your Rocket League gameplay. And right here, look at yourself. You're backing up, backing up, backing up. And you jumped almost a full second after the opponent jumped. This backing up, reversing, is very telling to me of extreme passiveness in your Rocket League gameplay. And because you're reversing right here, you're forfeiting ball control. You have plenty of boost to make whatever kind of play you want right here, but you just completely give up on it. And since the opponent's right there, you just allow him to have it. And I think right here you're just trying to get back, just to save the ball, just in case you need to. But you just need to limit the amount of times that you forfeit ball control. And so right here you have 70 boost. I think if you just hold down your boost button and come up here to this ball, you win this challenge, and the opponent does not hit it over your head. And right there, that was a good block. I don't know if that was intentional or not to bump their car, but that's something that I absolutely need to take advantage of in 1v1s. And again, as I mentioned, I kind of see from your movements that you're panicking a little bit after he actually doesn't score this. So the one thing in these situations when the ball's right here in front of your goal, you need to remain calm. And that's going to be difficult to learn, but that's going to be very important and play a big role, in my opinion, in your future success in Rocket League. Now, here again, you just grabbed your boost and the opponent doesn't have any boost, and you're playing extremely passive. You just grabbed 100 boost and the opponent was just going for the same boost, which was telling of the opponent not having boost. So right here you have the advantage, but you just give it up because you're playing passive, and in my opinion you might be a little scared of your opponent. And so right here is a good try. The opponent just got a little block on you, but right here is a very good, you went for the ball, you went for the boost, then went for the hit, and that is very, very good. Your goal was kind of lucky, but the fact that you went this way, you came to the boost, and you waited for the bounce off of the wall, that's very good. That's one of the times when the patience that you have is a very good thing. This right here is a good example of patience benefiting you. But there have been a lot more examples so far in this gameplay where patience could have screwed you over. But that was an example where it was good for you. And so right here, the opponent did not go for the kickoff at all. So another thing, like I mentioned at the beginning about kickoffs, pay attention to what the opponent is doing. Don't just look at the ball. Ask yourself, when you're in this kickoff, what are you looking at? And another thing I want to point out, when you're on the ground using your boost, you zigzagged to the left and then went to the right to go into the ball, which was unnecessary because the opponent wasn't moving back here. That's something you don't really need to do. But I'm going to assume that you did that maneuver because you weren't paying attention to the opponent. And right here, when the guy went up the wall, after he went to the left side of the ball, he just completely missed. And you could have turned a whole lot earlier to get a free goal, in my opinion. Right here, he just landed and the ball is already landed. If you were moved up, if you were closer to the ball, you have the entire map and a lot of time to just get the ball into the goal. Now with this hit, you jumped early. You jumped before your car was actually going to hit the ball. And I think that was kind of a hesitation on yourself to be aggressive. You weren't necessarily sure if you should be aggressive in that moment or not. And I just think that that's one of the main issues you have is a lack of aggression. And right here, again, is, I feel like, a lack of aggression. You had supersonic boost, or supersonic, but you were just supersonic speed. And what you need to do right here is just come and demo this guy. Either hit him or hit the ball. Because I'm going to point this out here. Behind your car, right here you've got 48 boost. And right here, behind your car, your supersonic speed, your fastest speed in the game. And you decide to kill that speed by trying to flip and hit the ball. Try to demo the guy, or just get a good hit on the ball. But right there, I think you had the potential to prevent that goal from happening, but you just didn't because you weren't aware of all your options. Now there's two things I want to point out here with this kickoff. The first one is you stayed on the ground and the opponent did a front flip kickoff, which gave him momentum and speed, and he was able to actually demo you even though it was unintentional. The second thing is look at the side of the ball the opponent is on. He's on the right side of the ball, and when you're doing the double front flip kickoff, you want to flip to the opposite side of the opponent. So since the opponent's on the right side, when you do this kickoff in the future, when you do the double front flip kickoff, flip to the opposite side. You can control kickoffs a lot by doing that. And so right here, you're just sitting back in the goal. You're playing very, very passive. You got a good clear, that's fine. I wouldn't say that that was incorrect, but what is incorrect here is your awareness, your total map awareness. So right here, you see the opponent and the ball. After you hit it, where's the opponent? Where is he at? How much time do you have to make what specific plays? You know, this is something that is going to also, like what I mentioned, panicking, being nervous. This is going to be another important thing for you to learn, to observe the total map, to see everything. In the same way I mentioned earlier about the boosts becoming second-hand nature, just knowing where they are, eventually I think you would need to get to the point to where realizing where your opponent and your teammates are becomes second nature as well. So right here after the kickoff, like I mentioned in the beginning, going for the side kickoff is very common. And right here you actually lost this boost battle. If you would have front flipped earlier to get to this boost, you would have beat the opponent, which in 1v1 would give you a huge advantage. Having full boost while intentionally making your opponent have none is a big, big deal in 1v1s. It puts you in a very, very good spot and situation. So right here you hit the ball back to your corner, which is a very, very good idea. And here again, you could have, in my opinion, went for the large boost and then went for the hit, because right here you've only got 4 boosts. But this is just, again, where I think you should rethink your approach to hitting the ball at specific times, specifically when you're on defense. Because right here, if your opponent was a good player, he would have already got the ball into the goal by now. But right here is a good little juke, but right here you don't have boost again. And if you did have boost, you could have potentially got a breakaway goal, as you saw the opponent come zooming behind you right there. So right here is good. You're kind of getting small boost and you go over for the big boost. But right here you're sideways, and then the opponent gets a nice little double tap goal. It's not too flashy. But the issue with this right here is you come sideways and you're still. You're not moving. With you not moving, you kind of like zigzag back and forth and then realize, oh crap, I need to go to defense. And since you're gold, I would assume, I don't know if you're over gold in other playlists, but with the opponent, doing an aerial like this, you might be just kind of looking up and thinking, wow, that's really cool. Because I know, at least for me, when I started playing, when opponents were doing that to me, that's what I thought. But when you get to playing against people that can do stuff like this, if it's something that you experience, just looking up and being like, wow, that's really cool, that's something you need to get away from, because you yourself can very easily do that. Now I want to get into this kickoff again, and post-kickoff awareness is, I guess that's what I'll call it. So right here after this kickoff, I'm just going to point out this timestamp, and I'm actually going to write it here on the screen. 151 to 147. That's a 4 to 5 second time frame. And so right here, where's your opponent? What's he doing? Can you go get boost and score this really quick? What can you do right here? Your options are not very limited. They're actually very broad as to what you could do here. And right here, the opponent came into screen. But being more quick to recognize just what's going on around you in general. And so right here you actually managed to get a goal with your patience again. And kind of hesitant to say that your patience here is a bad thing because it got you a goal, but it shows again you're moving forward and then you immediately start going backwards. Just going backwards like this, when you get, not if, but when you get into plat and above, the opponent's just going to juke you like crazy. They're going to dribble the ball on top of their car and they're going to be able to flick it right over you. So reversing like that, being that passive, even though you front flipped and became aggressive all of a sudden, was a very good thing, because becoming aggressive all of a sudden like that will really surprise an opponent if you've been passive the whole game. And so here's another tip, additionally to going down the middle of the map to get boosts, front flip so that you get back faster. Flipping around the map, whether you're going on defense or going to offense, is a very, very good way to gain momentum very quickly without using boost. And this right here is a very, very good read by you. You managed to get a goal out of it, which is great. Your situational awareness right here was very, very good. You know, your opponent basically made a pass off to you, and you recognized immediately, hey, I can score. But prior to this, right here being sideways in the goal, I don't know if you've watched a tutorial or whatever on YouTube, but this is very, very, very risky. You can only do so much when you're sideways, but if you're facing straight out towards the ball, you can do so much more when you're in a save situation like that. And at the end of the game, being sideways in the goal is what actually loses you this game. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So right here in this kickoff, again, like I mentioned, you stayed on the ground, you went straight, but you zigzagged, like you went over to the left and then went to the right. This would be okay, in my opinion, if you front flipped into the ball, but since you stayed on the ground right here, it really allowed the opponent, since he did the other kickoff, to just beat you on the kickoff, and he was able to get a goal out of it. And so right here, this is, I think, the second goal of the game that the opponent got that was kind of off of the kickoff. And right here I just wanted to point out, watching the opponent and what side of the ball they go on. And generally you would flip to the left right there, but since the opponent missed, having the situational awareness that, hey, they missed like just before you jump and jump straight forward, is something that you should have if it's something you don't already have, like that quick situational assessment. Now right here, let's look at the opponent. He went off to the left and then flipped inwards to the ball. Now because he missed the last kickoff, I think when you saw him do that, you thought to yourself, you know, hey, I can get a goal out of this. But in reality, no, you couldn't. You flipped and, you know, kind of hit the ball straight towards the goal because you may have been under the impression that, you know, hey, I can get a goal out of this. But in reality, it's something that a lot of people do, whether they mess up their kickoff or not. Some people do it intentionally to flip out like that. But that's a situation where you still just need to flip to the opposite side of where the opponent was. And here again, you got a weak hit off the side of your car. And this is another example of where you should hit the ball with the front rather than the side of your car. And right here, the opponent just missed the ball. You have plenty of time to, as I mentioned earlier, get around on the ball, to put yourself in a position so that you can get an accurate shot on goal. So right here, what you need to do is take your time. Be patient rather than trying to be quick to get this goal. You'll get around more. I know you really like being patient, but getting around more on the ball is something you can add to your arsenal. So this was just something that you should have taken advantage of, and you should have gotten a lead off of this. But again, you know, you hit it off the side of your car rather than the front, which resulted in a pretty weak hit. So right here you're sideways again, and the opponent is juking you. Now he should have scored this, but because this is gold, he landed to the side of the car rather than, the side of the ball rather than in front of the ball, to where he would have scored. Now right there, when you're in that situation, you need to 100% hit the ball. And so this hit right here, I feel like was kind of rushed. You probably could have hit it upwards in the air rather than just hitting it hard on the ground. And this right here, you kind of went up the wall and came back on defense. I feel like that shows maybe a lack of skill on your part. Maybe you weren't confident in yourself to jump off the wall and hit the ball. And if that's something that you do struggle with, that's something you should absolutely work on in free play or training or whatever. So right here, we're going to be looking at the opponent. The opponent's not moving, so you have plenty of time to get an accurate shot, but I feel like you kind of hurried that up a little bit. And right here, as I mentioned when you're on defense, to not panic. Right here, the same thing when you're on offense. Don't panic. Don't freeze up. Right here, I think you freezed up, which allowed you to not score this fairly free goal. So right here, the opponent missed, and he flipped off the wall, so he's going to have a while to recover. So right here, what you need to do, you just need to tap the ball slightly in front of the goal, come around and score. But right here, you kind of zigzag forward and back, kind of indecisive, and you get a really weak initial hit. And that's just the goal that you could have scored on, but you didn't. And that's okay. And so you had the right idea here to jump up, flip, do an aerial, flip into the ball, but you back flipped and missed, and that's just something that you need to just work on the execution of hitting the ball. It's just that simple. It's something that's just going to take a lot of practice. And right there, that was a very, very good try. If you would have actually got the hit off the top of your car, you would have been able to get it over the opponent, and you would have been able to score that, in my opinion. And the other thing, ignore my roommate in the background, but the other thing, as an alternative thing for you to do here, wait for the ball to get down to the ground and use your boost a little bit before this so that you can get some momentum and power and height on this shot. So what I mean by this is wait for the ball to hit the ground and just bounce up. Use your boost prior to get momentum and front flip into the ball. You would get a powerful high shot on the goal, and at gold elo, the high power shots are extremely difficult for your opponents and often for yourself to defend. So right there's a very good kickoff, but here again you kind of hit the ball more towards the front of your car, but it was still on the side. I know it's overtime and you're anxious to score and end the game, but right here you should have just gotten a little bit more around the ball, like I mentioned. You kind of had an accurate shot, it was just a little too high. And so right here, the issue with this is you come up and get the boost and you just reverse going into the goal and you're sideways into the goal, which just gives this entire piece of the goal for your opponent to shoot and score with. So in conclusion, the main things you need to work on is being more aggressive and being less passive at times. You need to just work on your kickoff, your ability to go up on the wall and jump off. Also your aerialing, and the one double tap goal the guy got was like an aerial goal. Work on defending advanced shots. I think you'll climb the ranked ladder in no time.